Hey, y'all. So I had to jump on the mic and continue this conversation that started on a post that I put in the Audacious Accountants community, and it was about quiet quitting. So I took that same post and I shared it on LinkedIn and on some other social media platforms. And the responses I got were crazy because I shared it because y'all know I love to write. Y'all know I love to talk about careers and trying to navigate your way through your career as a millennial, as a black or brown person working in these corporate spaces. And so the messages, the emails, the DMs that I got with people talking about their own job situation just really had me thinking like people are really going through it at work and they find so many justifications for going through something that they really don't have to go through. A lot of the responses were, I'm in this job that it's not the best and I know it's not for me, but and then after the but was some justification as to why you continue to exist in the job when you can thrive elsewhere. So I started off the article talking about an example that led into this larger quiet quitting conversation. So the example was, imagine if you're an executive, you're a corporate executive, you have this six-figure salary and you live that executive life. You're in back-to-back meetings, you travel all the time, you have an assistant that manages your to-do list. And there are no set work hours. You might answer emails in the middle of the night. If you're not in the meeting, you might be up late looking at the deck, looking at the spreadsheet, something like that, right? And now look at that executive relative to a staff accountant. And I'm going with accounting examples. So, y'all non accountants who are here for the career guidance and support, just roll with it. So, you have this corporate exec six-figure salary compared to a staff accountant that makes 40 or $50,000 a year. So you have a few meetings on your calendar as the staff accountant. You don't travel that much and you know that you have a lot of work to do and you still get it done. And outside of work is when you get to travel and live your best life and have fun and relax. So thinking about those two individuals, aside from the obvious paycheck difference, the question that I posed was what's the difference between these two scenarios? And you have this hardworking executive that probably has some pretty chaotic days, and operating in that manner is the norm. And even when this executive is on vacation, he or she is still answering emails and still very much engaged in work. Whereas you have the staff accountant who comes in, gets the job done, does it well, is part of a lot of meetings, but not so much where it consumes the workday. And then your weekends or your vacation, your time away, you are totally disconnected from work and you are on an island somewhere. So, would you consider that staff accountant to be a quiet quitter just because they take advantage of downtime, of not working 12-hour days and really playing into the role that they were hired to do, right? Some people might say, hey, that's the executive, that's the life they chose, this is what the job requires, this, that, and the other. But was there anything in that agreement that said you are required to look at the decks or you are required to always be doing something from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.? And even with the staff accountant, is there something that says, hey, When you get all your work done, go and look for something else to do. Don't take any downtime. Don't take vacation. You are expected to work hard, even if it's not in a job description and an employment agreement, none of that. The point was when people think about quiet quitting, the way that the staff accountant in my example behaves is what is a good example of what people are trying to say is that when you're quiet quitting, you're not giving your job 100% and you're not going above and beyond. And you are not just constantly trying to be whatever beyond excellent. And that the whole quiet quitting phenomenon became a thing. And I wasn't sure why because I'm like, why is this even a thing? There's nothing, the only thing that's constant is change. And quiet quitting feels like it evolved from somebody, probably a millennial that was blamed, deviated from these traditional work expectations. That even though we say, hey, work 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, we expect that when you leave work and go home, that you're logging on and you're looking for more cost savings and you're doing this and being ready for this meeting and doing that. So it's like now, because the way that we work is changing, the way that we work, the locations, the technology, the priorities, everything, even security with so many other people or so many more people working remotely and remoting into these companies' systems and all of this confidential information, even security is a thing. So when people talk about quiet quitting, are the employees doing everything that they can to be better? Are they fully committed to their jobs? The I would answer that question with a question and say, on the flip side, are the companies doing everything that they can to keep employees engaged in these hybrid work environments where it's become easier to get lost in the sauce? And aside from being great at your job and still trying to cultivate relationships in this virtual world, a new priority has emerged where you as a professional have to make sure that you don't get lost in the sauce. That whole out of sight, out of mind thing. Just because somebody doesn't see you in the office, they don't really you're not on their radar. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the the collateral damage of the way that we work and how it's evolving. So I don't know why it's a thing when we have so many other things to worry about. It's like when your favorite artist comes out with a new album and the album pops for 3 or 4 months and then we don't hear from them. And it's like, okay, where are they? What are they doing? And some people aren't even checking for you. So it's important to make sure that you're engaged, that you're checking in with people. I don't know where that just came from. Um, the way that some little weird sound just came out of my throat. It wasn't a burp. I don't know what it was. But anyway, but it's important to make sure that you stay on people's radar and not even just staying on people's radar, just making sure that we don't become so comfortable in our virtual environments that we shut out the rest of the world. So still take time to have a coffee chat with somebody, go to lunch with somebody, meet somebody new, look at some new connections on LinkedIn, and just make sure that you stay plugged in so that number one, you don't give in to that loneliness of working from home. But number two, so that as you progress in your career and new opportunities emerge that you will be top of mind for people to say, "Oh, yeah, I know somebody who would be great for this opportunity, for this promotion, for this new role, for this speaking engagement." So, if this is your first time listening to the Working Mamas podcast, welcome. If you are back, I am so glad that you're back. Hello again. And I just want to say that that was that was a bit of a tangent. And if this is your first time listening, I just want to throw that out there. If you're like, where the hell is she going with this? I tend to take tangents when I have conversations about certain things that I'm passionate about. So the tangents are uh I don't know how to describe them. They usually take me down the path to making a point, but then I always get back to what we're talking about. So I just want to put that out there for those of you who are new. And if you are new and you find something useful, valuable, engaging, feel free to share it and let people know about the Working Mamas podcast. Greatly appreciate that. But anyway, that was my biggest thing for these last few months as the conversation has grown exponentially about quiet quitting. Every other article I saw on LinkedIn was something about quiet quitting. And another thought that I had when I saw all those posts is like, let's even back up from quiet quitting and talk about burnout because they are very much first cousins, right? Or big sister, little sister, because if we really want to unpack quiet quitting, most people who get to a place of quiet quitting start at a place of burnout where you're no longer feeling fulfilled at work. So now you're not really motivated to do your work and you start finding other things to do to occupy your time, other things that are of more interest to you, whether it be your hobbies, maybe you had a side job that you like to do, or even if you abandon your personal joy, your biweekly massages or your favorite road trip or something you abandon because of work. And so when you start to feel like, I don't want to do this no more, this is not really exciting me professionally anymore, then you get in this place where it's like, let me just be here. Let me just show up. Let me just exist. Let me check some boxes and get this little bit of work done. And then you're done for the day. So when you're in those places of like, I don't really want to do this, then you're not giving your work the attention that it deserves. So you miss that attention to detail, which was probably something that was discussed in your interview as being critical in your role. So now you're missing obvious little things because the energy's not there. The excitement, the ambition isn't there. And there's something else or some things with an S that have caught your attention that have you like, no, let me do a double take at this job and see if this is really what I want to do. So now you're in the market for a new job and looking for a job because you don't like the job that you're in now. But that shouldn't be the only reason that you're looking for a job because if you start saying, let me reach out to some recruiters, let me talk to some people, let me find a new job because I don't want to be here anymore, then all you going to do is take that burnout energy from one job to the next. And so before you jump into interviewing and trying to leave your current job, there is some self discovery that you need to partake in so that you don't bring that same burnout energy into your new role. So take some time and explore. Excuse me. Let me grab my drink. Um, Again, for those of you who are first timers, some other things I'll share. I do not edit my podcasts. Number one. Number two, I always have something to drink, whether it's lemon and mint water or some whiskey or something good. Today I have some tea. It's called Relax, Relate, Release, and it's made by Brooklyn Tea. And the tea is so pretty in the tin. Um, it has this beautiful aroma, and then even when you drink it, it's so good. It's so refreshing. So Relax, Relate, Release is the absolute appropriate name for this tea. And this is no sponsorship, none of that. I just like to shout out businesses, especially Black owned businesses that do amazing things and have amazing products. So, shout out to Brooklyn Tea for the amazing Relax, Relate, Release tea. But back to it. Speaking of tea, how about you grab yourself a cup of tea and go curl up in a corner and think about what is it in my job that I don't like? Why is it that I feel like I don't want to be here? And be real with yourself and answer those questions so that you can make the corrections that you need to make before you go into this new company with this new job, but you haven't really resolved your prior professional issues. Your career is you and your career is very much like a relationship. The same way you have these relationships that may or may not go well. Some of them might end amicably, some of them may not. And before you're on the rebound to the next person, pause and have some alone time and think about why certain things went left and what worked and what didn't so that you can bring your refreshed, authentic, self rehabilitated self to your new job. And I say all that to just wrap this up and say, listen, when you decide to leave a job, it's not always a one-sided thing. You're leaving because of all of the issues or all of the things that you suddenly dislike about the job. It is very important for you to take some time and do that self-discovery, look yourself in the mirror and be accountable to yourself to say, what can I do better in my new job? Or what can I do in my new job that I wasn't doing in the old job? What are some things that I didn't like? What are some things that I felt bored with? So that when you look for these new opportunities, you're not taking on a role that's filled with things that you don't want to do. Because in 3 to 6 months, you're going to be right back in the job market. So even if you decide to leave the job, do the personal exploration that you need to do to be better, to be a better you. The other thing I wanted to share from the article, I was actually having a conversation recently with some peers, and we happened to be talking about this very thing about quiet quitting and burnout and all these other things. And somebody brought up a really great point and said, they keep talking about quiet quitting because you're not going above and beyond. But what if these people are just acting their wages? What if you're just acting your wage? What if, like the example I had with the executive and the staff accountant who makes $42,000 a year, what if that staff accountant is simply acting their wage and the company is getting the $42,000 worth of effort that they paid for? So obviously that sparked a lot of conversation, and there's just so many definitions and interpretations of quiet quitting. And it depends on who you ask because millennials, we have our response, but then there's, I think Gen X and Gen Z are after us. I stopped. I think after Gen X, Gen Z, I think there might be a few other generations. I'm lost after millennial. Baby boomers, millennials. I don't know if Gen X is comes before Gen Z or vice versa. I don't know. But the point is, everybody has a different perspective about this. And so I don't want to call the fact that people are just doing what's outlined in their job description quiet quitting. But at the same time, don't show up to your work. Don't show up to work unless you're showing up to work, unless you're planning on doing that job better than anybody else can do it. And that's what it's about. It's not really about you trying to impress somebody. It's about you trying to outdo yourself and prove something to yourself to say, this is what I chose as my career path, as my job. This is the company that I chose to work for, that I spend a lot of my daily time with. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up and I'm going to be excellent and I'm going to do the best damn job that I can do, because quiet quitting is, or whatever we want to call it, is, it's not, nobody wins in that situation. The company is not getting the output they deserve from you, and you are not meeting your own expectations. You're not even living up to the bar that you set for yourself. So nobody wins with quiet quitting. The other thing I want to say about quiet quitting, and then I'll move on. I like to keep these episodes to 30 minutes or less. And I'm pretty sure with what I'm about to say, another tangent is going to come. And that's going to put us right at 30 minutes. But that's okay, because there's plenty of other episodes that you can listen to, whether it's the Career Convo series, whether it's the CPA exam series, or whether it's the OG, the original, the Working Mamas podcast, which is all about my frolics and frustrations as a mom. Speaking of, this episode I'm recording while my daughter is taking a nap and my husband and my son are out. So I was like, let me hop on my microphone and say what I've been trying to say for the last couple of weeks. So I'm pretty sure that when she comes downstairs and walks in my office, which she will absolutely do, and sees me on the mic, she's going to want to jump in. So that's the other reason I want to try to wrap up in 30 minutes, because mom life follows me everywhere. It does not matter what I'm doing. But anyway, and I'm not complaining about that, because I love my love bugs. We have so much fun. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about quiet quitting and why it's important for you to show up to work and do your work and do it well is because black and brown people don't get to participate in the whole quiet quitting phenomenon. Now, there's a couple of things I said I'd never do. One of those is get, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to say it. I might mess up a future sponsorship, but I'll say this. There's a lot of social media videos going around about quiet quitting and people sitting in at their desk or their cubicles and acting out these little quiet quitting skits. And one of the things I said to somebody is, out of all these videos that you see about quiet quitting, how many of those people are black? Most likely it's none. I don't watch the videos, but I'll say most likely it's none, because black people do not get to quiet quit. Now, let me rewind back to Thursday nights back in 2007, 2008, 2009, when Scandal was the thing, when Scandal was like, I can't even think of a show that Scandal was like, because number one, is so many shows that have pierced our souls like Scandal did. My daughter's up. I hear her talking on her phone. But Let me text her and tell her I'm recording the episode just so I don't have to stop and start over. But um so yeah, so if I rewind back to those scandal episodes with Daddy Pope when he said to Olivia in were they at the airport or something? Somewhere they were by a jet, I remember. And he said you have to be twice as good as them to get half of what they have. And still today, there's so many Black people, myself included, where we can flash back to these conversations that we've had. And some of us are probably still having them in the Black household. You need to get all A's. You need to be on the dean's list. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to be number one for everything because half working, half assing, mediocrity, having a sorry work ethic was just not going to hold in the Black home, period. Especially thinking about how hard our parents worked, how hard their parents worked, how hard our ancestors fought and worked. And that little skirting through things just does not work. And on top of that, you have the Black professionals who feel that same pressure at work. There might not even be a microscope on you, but something in your mind, you might feel like there is. And so always feeling that pressure of like, are they critiquing my work the same way that they're critiquing my non-Black coworkers' work? Am I being treated fairly? Am I being paid equitably? So that constant pressure is always there from all sides. So imagine growing up, feeling that at home. Constant reminder, you gotta be great. You gotta be better than them. You gotta outperform. You gotta be number one. And then to even feel it at work is okay, even if nobody says it to you, you just still feel like there's like Big Brother looking over your shoulder to see what you're doing. So once Black people attempt to participate in quiet quitting, all of those things I just mentioned become the justification for Black professionals being held back from other opportunities because the project didn't go as planned, because you were supposed to do something in 5 days and it got done in six. And there's all these little things that you felt like didn't matter become these huge factors when it comes to looking at why you didn't get promoted, why you didn't get to lead a project, or why you feel like you constantly have to explain things and justify things and other people don't. And the other side of that we talked about in the conversation was quiet firing. If there is no justification, if you are killing it at work and you're the superstar in the office and everybody know it, and you saved millions of dollars and created new things and ran projects, and it's promotion time and you've been passed over multiple times, what is that? If you had the goals laid out, if you had the expectations laid out, if you checked the boxes and then some on all of the things that were set as the criteria for you to get promoted, then you still don't. What is that? That's quiet firing. That's the quiet firing when you're not getting promoted, even not even getting groomed for a promotion, not being trained, excluded from meetings. You can't get the right resources to do your job. You are the last person to know about things. And some companies, unfortunately, have these things in place and they hope that you will quote unquote transition yourself out. That way, they don't have to pay you to leave or none of that. And I said quote unquote transition yourself out because I remember having a conversation and I was having a conversation, a closed door conversation about employee performance. And I had some things to say about a person, and then the other execs in the room had some things to say. And one of those execs said, "Well, this person is this, this, and this, and they're not really this, this, and this. So, it's kind of hard to deal with them, and hopefully they'll just transition themselves out." And it made me think about quiet firing. That wasn't the term or the terminology I gave it at the time, but same situation is where a person is underperforming, and instead of telling them that they're underperforming so they can do better, you choose to put these barriers up so that they can essentially just shoot themselves in the foot and get to a point where the conditions are so just not what they want to where they decide to look for another job and leave. So, take away from this, quiet quitting is what a lot of people would say is employee driven, quiet firing is employer driven. But those classic signs that I mentioned, you're not being trained, promoted, groomed, excluded from things, you're not in the loop of what's happening. Those are the classic signs of quiet firing. If you ask for feedback and you don't get clear feedback, that's another classic sign of quiet firing. If you feel like you're being pushed out, then you could be in one of those quiet firing situations. But it's not about, like I said before, it's not about quiet quitting. It's not about quiet firing. It's the fact that people want to live their lives unapologetically and don't want to be defined by the work that they do. And more people in the workforce are doing a double take at their careers, at their jobs. And they're going after what they deserve, and they're setting these expectations for employers. Hey, this is what I need to make me happy, whether it's money, whether it's vacation, whether it's the work that you're doing, the flexibility that you have, because it's essential to their well being. And we've seen what toxic work environments can do, whether we've been in one ourselves or we've seen the news about executive suicides or people going back and shooting up their workplaces. And those things are just not what I want to continue to see. And it's not what the world needs. So I hope that people will look at quiet quitting and quiet firing as opportunities to find what makes them happy and find out what brings them joy, because everybody deserves to be happy at home, at work. And if you're in a situation where your work doesn't bring you joy, where how much you weigh doesn't bring you joy, or the house that you live in doesn't bring you joy, or the car that you drive, or whatever your situation is, if there's any circumstance in your life that is not making you happy from head to toe, get rid of it because you deserve to be happy. So we are way past the 30-minute mark. We're at about 34. I text my daughter and tell her to not come in my office just yet, but I hear her walking around her room, which means that she's going to be coming down here pretty soon. So thank y'all for tuning in. Please, please, please listen to another episode. If you love this one, share it. But again, appreciate y'all being here. Thank you. And I will talk to y'all soon as my daughter is about to come down the steps. Bye, y'all.